What's the biggest price you paid for trusting someone? When I was little, I thought my dad was just busy, and whenever he didn't show up, my mom always told me he was fixing the car, working overtime, or saving up for something bigger. So I believed her, because it was easier than believing he didn't want to see me. Every Saturday, I'd sit on the porch with my backpack ready and new sneakers tied, waiting for his car to pull up, and I'd stay out there until the sun went down and the porch light turned on. But even then, I told myself next time would be different, like next weekend, next birthday, or next school event, because I thought he'd show up, but next time never came. And the soccer games passed without him, and so did spelling bees, parent-teacher nights, and the birthdays where everyone else's parents stood in a circle while I blew out candles alone. Sometimes he'd send a text a few hours late saying he was sorry, caught up at work, and would come next time, and I read those messages over and over like they were real conversations. By high school, the excuses got heavier than the waiting, but I still hoped, and when graduation came, I ironed my gown myself and saved him a seat in the front row, right where he couldn't miss me walking across the stage. And I kept glancing at the entrance, even after the ceremony started, and every time a new person walked in, I felt a rush of hope, but every time it wasn't him, it got a little harder to sit still. When they finally called my name, I smiled for the crowd, waved for the cameras, and looked at the crowd, but there was no one waving back. Later that night, he texted saying he forgot the date and was proud of me, and I sat on the curb outside the school gym in my cap and gown, staring at my phone until the battery gave out, and that was the moment something inside me finally broke. After that, I stopped saving seats, checking my phone on holidays, or pretending we were anything more than strangers who shared blood. I went to college across the country and got my first job stacking shelves at a grocery store, then worked my way up and found a dingy little apartment where the heat barely worked in the winter, but it was mine, and I built a life without needing family help because I knew no one would come if things went wrong. Years passed with birthdays, promotions, and holidays quiet on my side and hopeful but empty on his. And then one night, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize, and I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer, and it was him. His voice didn't sound the way I remembered. It was smaller and weaker. He told me he was in the hospital, it was serious, and he needed to see me, and said he was sorry. For a second, the kid who used to wait on the porch grabbed at my chest, begging me to run to him, forgive him, and believe this time would be different. But the man I had become, the one who learned how to build his life alone, stayed still, but I went anyway. The hospital smelled clean and cold, and his room was dim with machines beeping slow and steady. He looked even smaller than he sounded, and he smiled faintly when he saw me and reached out a shaking hand. He told me he was sorry, but it wasn't the first time he said it, or even the 100th. But this time, there were no games left to attend, no birthdays to show up for, because the chance was gone, and the boy who used to wait wasn't sitting there anymore. He held my hand like he was asking for forgiveness without saying it, but I didn't hold back, and I just stood there feeling empty. And the beeping started slowing, then it stopped, and his hand went limp, and for a long moment, the world was quiet. The nurses moved around me, checking monitors, covering his body with a sheet, and I didn't move until they gently asked me to leave. And even then, my legs didn't feel like they belonged to me. When I finally walked out of that hospital room and into the freezing night air, I realized something I should have known all along. Some apologies don't come late, they come when they don't matter anymore.